One thing that always surprised me about the discussion of free will was that everyone always had such black-white takes on it, right? Because people either believe that everything is purely an act of determinism and everything is predetermined and everything is just, there is no choice in the matter, right? Or they thought, yes, everyone has free will. And that's where it ended, right? In this video, I want to show you that free will does exist, but not everyone might be using it, and we're certainly not using it in every single situation, and it certainly does not make you a god in the world capable of, single-handedly shaping the entire force of the universe, right, in every way that you like. Now, I like to think of the position of free will as a scale, right? You have the people that believe in the law of attraction, in which, your thoughts create reality, and if you want something enough, through the power of, your own will, you will make it happen in regards to winning the lottery, in regards to, becoming God of the world, like no matter what you want, everything is possible if you just believe in it enough. And if you don't get it, it's because you didn't believe in it enough, right? Or we have the idea of the true determinist, right? And the truth is, there is no such thing as a true determinist, because if you truly believed that free will didn't exist, well, you'd probably be making a lot different choices in the matter, because now everything's in a simple act of determinism and you have no accountability, no responsibility, but you choose to believe there's responsibility, and so you choose to act like there is free will, even if there isn't. And you might say this is just the fault of your programming, because you've been programmed to believe that there's free will, even if there's not. Now, my choice to believe in free will comes from two things. First, personal experience. I believe through meditation and through this process of mindfulness, I've experienced free will, and I've felt what free will feels like. And I've also realized that it's not something that we use in every single situation. And not everyone is even actively aware of the fact that they have it. So free will is not something that we always find in every single situation, because yes, your brain has a lot of shifting levers that are working in different processes and pushing you in different directions. There is a push to do a certain thing and to act a certain way and to be a certain kind of person. But certainly people that engage in meditation seem capable of transcending this kind of experience and going a level beyond it. So these kind of people also tend to become very, very peculiar and very, very strange. The second reason why I believe in free will is a functional explanation. I think as a programmer, I tend to have a kind of component way of looking at life, where everything is a component, right? And it has a certain function, or everything can be broken down to variables with different functions and different purposes, and they can be used for different things, right? So I tend to say that, if we can envision something and see something, and if we can see a purpose for something, then most likely it exists, right? So if we can see not just that we can envision that something exists, that's step one, but also that it seems to fill some concrete purpose, it properly exists, right? So whenever we can see consequences from something, then we can assume that most likely it serves some kind of role in the world, and it has some kind of place in the universe, and it does something. It's here for a reason, right? So it's not just here, but it's also doing something here, right? And so we can understand the world, we can go into the world, we can look at everything around us, we can see, yes, there are rocks, and yes, rocks have this function and these different purposes and these kind of different interactions with different objects, and they can be used, to create fire or to do these kinds of things, right? And here, all these things, go to create the idea and experience of rocks being their own distinct thing, right? Their own distinct force and shape and idea or meme or experience, right? So the same, I'd say, is something that goes for consciousness and the idea of free will, right? So I believe consciousness, which is something we can all experience, the idea of being conscious, of being self-aware, is something you can experience firsthand if you want to, whenever you want to. But consciousness serves the purpose, the function of facilitating free will, right? So whenever you become self-aware, whenever you become conscious, whenever you step into an embodied experience and you're like, I'm here right now, in this room, with these people, experiencing these things, that experience serves a specific function in your brain. It helps you make decisions. So consciousness is here to facilitate free will and help you make decisions. Now, a lot of people tend to argue that free will doesn't exist based on a popular experiment done in neuroscience. So in neuroscience, there's been studies done which show that people actually make decisions before they think that they made a decision. So actually, we can see in the brain already that neurons are firing before you go, I made a decision. So you'll, for example, click on a button after the fact that you've already made a decision. You think that you made a decision when you push the button, but actually you made a decision before you push the button, suggesting that there is something in your brain which is making decisions for you and telling you what to think. And then you yourself kind of reconstruct the idea that you made a decision actually was your idea and actually you wanted to do this, right? So that's the problem of consciousness, and that's why so many people dispute the idea of free will. This idea that there is a second entity inside your brain, a kind of machine runner that's telling you these and these thoughts, right? Now, when you engage in explore Eastern philosophy and the spirituality of the mind and consciousness and conscious experiences, you learn that, well, actually, I am that person too, right? So I'm both the person carrying out the decision and the person making the decision. I am all these different experiences happening in the brain at the same time. I'm certainly not conscious of all of them at the same time, but certainly I am all these experiences at the same time, right? This kind of full brain consciousness or whole state being is very rare and very hard to maintain for a long time. We call it the flow state. In Zen studies, we talk about it as Zen, right? And in Taoism, it's the Tao. Like these kinds of experiences are very, very hard to have. But when you start breaking down psychology of yourself, you recognize that I am every single entity inside myself. Every single person I imagine in my mind is me, right? All of them serve a role in me, right? And now when you are the person pushing the button and you think of yourself as the person pushing the button, you are in the unconscious delegating the role of making the decisions to an unconscious force. So if you're being the person that makes the decisions, that pushes the button, you're not the person that makes the decision to push the button. But if you're the person that makes the decision to push the button, well, the part of you which carries out the decision is unconscious, which means that typically you can't think while you do and you can't do while you think. These things, these kind of experiences are counter-related, meaning that they have an like anti-correlated relationship. Activity in one leads to decreased activity in the other, right? And you can think of it like this. When you feel happy, when you go into the feeling of being happy, you start to smile, and you're not thinking of the fact that you're starting to smile. You're not telling yourself, I'm going to smile now. You're thinking, I'm happy, and you're starting to smile. Now your body is moving to facilitate that experience. You're taking actions, you're doing things without being conscious of the fact that you're doing things, because your consciousness has gone somewhere different. Your consciousness has gone into the experience of being happy. That's what you're thinking about. So this is also one of the problems of free will, right? Because here we have to accept that we can't be all omnipresent. We can't be everywhere at once. We can't have our mind everywhere at the same time. We can't have this omnipresent Wall Street state of being. Well, certainly it's very difficult to have this kind of state of being. And certainly most people don't have it all the time. And even if you do experience that for a brief moment, right, these experiences are incredibly rare, right? I was recently reading about spirituality in the modern age and how scientists are able to find new forms of faith and religious experiences without necessarily being religious and while still being scientific, right? And here they talk about how the brain has this ability to produce these kinds of amazing spiritual experiences of awe. And like here, one example of that is, imagine that you're like imagine you're in Asia, in the deep blue ocean in Asia, right? And you're laying down in a rowboat, a small rowboat, and you're looking up at the sky and it's night. And all above you are stars. And then you look around you and this ocean is glowing, right? And it's just this kind of all-powerful experience. And you're looking up and you're just one with everything. You just feel like you're not yourself anymore. You're not in your body anymore. You're everywhere. You are everything. You're the water, you're the ocean, you're the stars, you're the boat, you're everything that's happening in that place at that time, right? And that's kind of complete whole state being is very rare to have, but also it's a very powerful experience that has shaped, I think, a lot of modern day religion and modern day spirituality, because that's the kind of thing that people take drugs for. That's the thing that people are paying money and doing illegal things to experience, right? Because people want to have these kind of experiences. And now Carl Jung would say, be careful of unearned wisdom, right? And I don't know what he meant with that phrase, but I think it's fitting here. What I want to say when it comes to free will is also recognize that, yeah, we're sharing this planet with other people, and we're not omnipresent, and we're not all powerful either, which means that we are engaged in a constant state of negotiation with the world. And we're probably playing a role in a bigger consciousness, a broader consciousness, a collective human consciousness, a collective human experience. And we can't experience that thing fully. We can't fully feel connected to all of that. It's not an easy state to find, right? So our role in the universe is very small and limited. We have our things that we have control over, these things on a smaller scale that we have control over. Just as bacteria on their small microscopic scale have their things that they have power over and control over, right? We have a limited scope of influence in a limited part of the universe. And that's our given role. And that's something we have to surrender to and find humility in, because who needs everything? We don't need to be everywhere at once. We don't need to be all powerful. We don't need to be gods in the world. We can all do our part and find gratitude and happiness in what we do and where we are and what we do. So here, life is a sandbox, but that doesn't mean necessarily that everything is possible all the time, right? There is always a constant stream of options and limited opportunities. Certainly, almost incomprehensible amount of opportunities nonetheless, but limited still, which means that we can't do everything, but we can do a lot of things. There's so many things that we can do, so many things we can experience, so many things that we can have, right? And here I'd say, even if you don't even believe in free will, even after listening to this video, right? I feel like the choice to believe in free will becomes almost a necessity for survival. It serves a function also in facilitating your desire to, keep living, keep going out, keep having experiences, keep meeting people, keep enjoying this wonderful movie of life, right? And it gives you a sense of agency in that world, right? Because otherwise you're just watching a movie. Now you're playing a computer game, a really advanced computer game, right? With amazing graphics, because let's be real, the graphics of reality are pretty incredible. I don't know what graphics card is able to produce this, but it's something else, right? Now, yeah, that's what I have to say about free will. Now, go on and live your life.